All right, hello everyone. Good to see you join us today. Um, yeah, we're going to what's it called? We're going to be working on cosine law today, so we're just gonna wait a couple minutes, and then once we're done that, we're gonna get started. Okay. So we're gonna get started very soon. We're just gonna wait like a minute or two. Oh, give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. We're back. Okay. Um, yeah. So hopefully you have 8.4 out already, and then once we do 8.4, you have 8.5, and then we're technically done our course. So that's a lot of kind of work that we've done so far. And I know it's been a rush, especially with your culminating due this week. And all your other assignments, because I have to get marking them. I have finished marking the quiz from before for chapter 7, I believe. That's the one I did. So that is marked. I have returned those marks on Google Classroom, so you can take a look. I did go through each quiz manually and give marks where it was due. So hopefully there are no complaints there. Okay. So let's jump right into it. We're not going to wait for too many people. I would like to get into it so that we can just get started. Okay. So here is cosine law. The equation is a little bit more difficult than sine law, but the idea here is if I give you a triangle and you can't use the sine law, most of the time you can use the cosine law. Okay? So the idea here is that you're going to be solving for a missing side or a missing angle, but there are specific situations you should be looking for. And the one main situation you want to be looking for is that you don't have an opposite side angle pair. Like you don't have that corresponding angle pair. So for example, let's say this is capital C, lowercase a, and lowercase b. You would use the cosine law to solve here. That would be your missing side, right? If you look at this situation here, if these three are all you're given, you don't have enough information to use the sine law, because the sine law requires you to have a opposite side, opposite angle. Like this side does not have its angle, this side does not have its angle, this angle does not have its side. So it is important for us to have a second method of solving it in case we can't use sine law. The second situation would be something like this. And you have all three sides of a triangle, but you have no angles. Can you figure out an angle? Then absolutely, you can. And that would be using cosine law. So the main thing here is that you have to understand that C represents the missing length. Okay? The C is always what's missing. Now, this equation can be written in different ways, right? You don't have to use A, B, and C, but we specifically use C to designate what is missing. And that includes your capital C as well. Like if you're solving for your angle is capital C, right? We're always going to designate the letter C as what we're missing. Okay? So with cosine law, it's best to kind of go through and actually solve some questions. So let's actually go through and try these. So for example, here you're going to notice, hey, there's no angle side pair, right? I have this side here, I don't have the angle. I have this side here, I don't have the angle. I have this angle here, I don't have the side. So that becomes a little bit of an issue. So instead, we're going to use our newly learned cosine law up here. So first, I'm going to label my triangle. Since this is the missing side, I'm going to designate this as small c, which means this angle here is capital C. And the other two sides, it doesn't matter which one's which, I'm just going to call A and B. Okay? So once we have that down, right, we can now plug it into our formula. So our formula is up top here. So I'm just going to copy it down for this question. And make sure you are using brackets for any values that you are substituting, except the angle value. The angle value doesn't need brackets. Okay? So when we plug this all in, right, we're going to plug everything in. Small c is our x, so x squared. A is 6, so we're going to plug in 6 squared. Plus b, which is 3 squared, minus 2 times a, which is 3, 6, which is, sorry, I've mixed those up, but yes, 3 times 6, cosine of 55. So you're just going to plug that all in. That's it. Once you plug that in, you're going to solve it. X squared is equal to 6 squared, which is 36, plus 3 squared, which is 9, minus 2 times 3 times 6. So 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 6 is 36. So minus 36 cosine 55. Okay? Notice how I'm doing this step by step, right? To help us actually figure this out a little smoother. So I'm just going to keep going here. X squared is equal to 45 minus 36 cosine 55. And then we're actually going to solve this in one step. Okay? We're going to go to the nearest 10th decimal place. So if we go to the nearest 10th decimal place, this should come out to a value of 24.4, approximately 24.4 degree, 4. And then we're going to square root both sides. And that's going to give me 24.4. And so when we solve that square root, we get 4.9, and the units was millimeters. So it really is just, hey, here's the formula. Do you know when I should use the formula, or when you should use the formula? And once you figure that out, you just plug in the numbers and make sure you do your math correctly. Okay? So, number one, what situation is this? Do I use sine law, do I use cosine law, or do I use SOHCAHTOA? That's number one. Number two, right, once you figure that out, what are my letters? Where do my letters go? So if it's SOHCAHTOA, you should know opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. If it's sine law or cosine law, where's capital A, where's capital B, where's capital C, where's lowercase a, where's lowercase b, where's lowercase c. That's important. Okay? You need to designate each side and each angle with a letter so that you know where to plug it in into your equation. Okay? So there's question A. We're going to go to question B now. Okay? We're going to go to question B. Similar idea here. We're missing a side length, so we're going to find lowercase c here, which means capital C is here, and we'll call this A, and then lowercase b. Okay? So we're just going to plug it straight into our formula this time. So x squared is equal to 4 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 4 times 6 cosine of 25. I gotta stop writing so big. I'm like running out of space. There's like so much space here. Okay. So once again, c squared, which is x, a squared, which is 4, b squared, which is 6, minus 4ab cosine 25. Now a lot of people have some trouble memorizing the cosine law. It's kind of simple to the simpler way of memorizing it is c squared minus c squared equals a squared plus b squared is kind of like or it is Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's the first part. So the only part you really have to memorize is minus 2ab cosine c. That's it. So the first part is the Pythagorean theorem. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. And this is the second part we're kind of adding on to it that changes it into the cosine law. Okay? Pretty interesting stuff. So, when we solve this out, we're going to get x squared is equal to 4 squared is 16 plus 6 squared equals 36 minus 2 times 4 times 6, so 8 times 6, which is 48, cosine 25. Okay? Solving that out, we're going to get 52 minus 48 cosine 25. And then we can go right into our decimal here, which should give us 8.5. Square rooting both sides is going to give us x, which is approximately equal to 2.9 centimeters. Okay. Now, if you have any questions or you feel like I'm going too fast, please let me know in the chat. I will slow down for you. I do understand if I'm going a little fast, so please let me know if you need me to slow down. But otherwise, we're going to keep going if I don't see anything in the chat. Okay? So let's give you one example to try on your own. I'll give you actually no, let's not do this as an example. I'm actually going to go through this because this is actually solving for an angle. So let's kind of go through this one here. This one's a little bit different. Okay? Remember, the letter C is used to designate what's missing, what we're trying to solve for. So here, I'm trying to solve for the angle. I'm missing the angle, which means this must be capital C. I'm going to designate that as capital C because once again, the letter C is solely used for triangles that we're trying to solve a missing part for, right? So that's capital C, which means that's lowercase c. This is A and this is B. Okay? So, plugging it into our formula is 3 squared is equal to 5 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 5 cosine of C. We don't know what that is. Okay? We don't know what that is. So that's our formula now. We have to solve for angle C. So let's go through step by step as to how to solve for an angle this time rather than a side. Because this formula is rearranged to solve for the side usually. But what if we're trying to solve for the angle? So let's go through it. So 9 is going to be equal to 25 plus 25 minus 50 cosine C. Going to continue onwards. We get 9 equals 50 minus 50 cosine C. Moving the 50 to the other side, we're going to get this, which gives us negative 41 is equal to negative 50 cosine C. We're going to divide both sides by negative 50, which gives us 41 over 50 is equal to cosine C. Finishing this question off, that means cos inverse of 41 over 50 is equal to C. And the angle you should get here is approximately 34.9 degrees. Okay. So notice how when I follow the steps, I simplify one by one, just to make sure I don't make a mistake. I see a lot of people jump from here straight to here, and I see people make mathematical mistakes, whether it's on a calculator or they screwed up their mental math. Like, you don't know that. You don't know what's going to happen. It's better to go step by step and make sure you understand, oh, yes, that's a step of simplification, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay? Now, the second method, this is the first method, which is using our original formula. But what if we can rearrange the original formula? So if the original formula, once again, is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c, can I reorganize this to get my angle? So let's reorganize it. We're going to get c squared minus a squared minus b squared equals negative 2ab cosine c. So I moved a squared and b squared to the other side. I'm going to divide by negative 2ab. So now I'm going to get c squared minus a squared minus b squared all over negative 2ab is equal to cosine c. And I think you can see where we're going from here. You can now cos inverse that fraction. And that equals angle C. And there's our formula. So this would be the formula to solve for the angle. If you want to write that down somewhere as kind of like a note, it's like, hey, this is the cosine law for an angle, and the other one is the cosine law for the side. If you want to do that, absolutely, you can do that. You don't have to, but it is a good kind of way to quickly solve for your angle by just plugging it into a formula with no more rearranging, no more algebra, right? The algebra is done for you. So that is an option you have here. Okay, so I'm going to give a couple seconds for people to copy that down, and then we will move on ahead. Okay. Second page here. Lots of examples here. So this one, I would like you to try on your own. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to try this on your own. This one, let's try using that new formula. So once again, the new formula here. C is equal to cos inverse of c squared minus a squared minus b squared all over negative 2ab. So there's our formula. So try plugging this in, and then we'll figure this out. So I'll give you 3 minutes. Should be enough to do the math. Okay. All right. So hopefully you have finished solving it. Setting up the equation should look like this. And the reason for that is because since x is the missing angle, that's capital C. So this must be lowercase c, and a and b can be on whichever side that wasn't used. So plugging it in, we get this. So writing it out is 49 minus 36 minus 9 all over, looks like negative 36 down here, like that. So x is equal to cos inverse of, it looks like 4 here, right, over negative 36, which will give me approximately 96.4 degrees. Okay. So there should have been your answer. Oh, I'm not showing my face, but yes. That should be your answer, 96.4 degrees. Okay. So you have kind of everything set up. You just have to plug it in as long as you were able to determine which sides go where, right? That's important. So these next few questions, okay, it's sine law or cosine law, okay? Sine law or cosine law. I'm actually gonna leave these three as practice problems. I'm actually gonna give you the answer. So I want you to try it on your own and try to get these answers, because it's really good practice to determine or know how to use sine law or cosine law. So for example, for this first one here, even though we're learning about sine law, I'm asking you, which one do you use? Do you use sine law or cosine law? So the main rule that you're looking for is, do I have an opposite side and angle pair? Do I know that pair? And the answer is yes, I have one that exists here. And for my second one, that one also exists here, right? So since I have an opposite side, opposite angle pair, this is going to use sine law. And I'm going to tell you that x is equal to approximately 8.5. Okay, there's your answer, and I want you to try using sine law to solve for x. For part B, do I have an opposite side angle pair? That's the first question you're going to ask yourself. Do I have an opposite side, opposite angle pair? In this case, I do not. All three of these sides don't have that pair, which means this must be capital C, this is lowercase c, because we're going to be using cosine law. Okay? And this is going to give me an x value of approximately 6.3. Okay? And for this third one here, do I have an opposite side, opposite angle pair? Looks like I have one here. And for the missing side, I seem to also have one there, which means yes, I can use sine law. Okay? I can use sine law, and so the answer you should get using sine law is approximately 26.1 degrees. Okay? But the main reason why I'm just giving you the answers for these three is because I want to go over this next example, and this might take around 5 to 8 minutes just to solve. Okay, so this is important for us to kind of go through here. So we're given triangle ABC. I'm just going to quickly draw out triangle ABC. Say something like this. It says angle A is 61. Side B is 14, and side C is 19. Okay? And it asks us to solve it, which means we need to find everything that's missing. So the first thing is Can I use sine law or cosine law? We don't know if this is a right angle triangle, so we can't just say it is, right? But the main thing here is, can we use sine law or cosine law? And so we look. Do I have an opposite side, opposite angle pair? No. There's nothing like that, which means we probably have to use cosine law first. Okay, so number one is cosine law. And we have this angle, we have these two sides, and so for cosine law, if we have an angle, we're going to be solving for its side here. Now, this might be confusing for some of you, because the side we're solving for is no longer C, it's A. It doesn't change anything. It still goes in the position of our C in our formula. Our formula tells us that C is for what's missing. So our A value is going to go where C is, and then everything else goes everywhere else, right? So you're just adjusting the formula to the information you're given, okay? So for us, if I were to write down this new formula, notice how I write it. I haven't changed the formula. All I've changed is C and A have switched positions everywhere. That's it. Because A is what I'm solving for, right? So this rule stays the same. The positions don't change, right? It's just the letters might move positions, because when I give you certain letters, it might not be C that you're solving for. Maybe it's A, right? So it's something to keep in mind when you're solving these questions, and not to get confused about, because you're still doing the same thing. Nothing's changing, right? Everyone thinks, a lot of students think something's changing here. I'm like, no, nothing's changing. You're doing the exact same thing. You're just confused because I changed a letter from C to A, right? That's important, right? If you're freaking out because a letter changed from C to A, something's wrong, because it's the same thing, right? I'm not changing anything. So it is something to keep in mind as you're solving these questions. So if I plug everything in, I'll get 14 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times 14 times 19 of cosine 61. Okay. I'm going to have to simplify this faster because I'm running out of space. So 557 is going to be here, and then minus 532 cosine of 61. Okay. That's going to give me a squared is equal to approximately 299.08. And square rooting both sides, I get a is equal to approximately 17.3 centimeters. Okay, so now we have a. So there's a. We have 17.3 centimeters. Now, can we use this information to solve for anything else? Yes. Once we solve for a, we now have an angle side pair. We have that. Which means the second step is to use the sine law. And this time, we're going to be solving for an angle. So I'm going to say that sine A over A is equal to, let's say I'm solving for angle B, sine B over B. I'm going to be using my newfound A to solve for another angle in my triangle, and sine law is a little bit simpler than cosine law to use. So sine of 61 over 17.3 is equal to sine B over 14. Rearranging this equation, I get 14 sine 61 over 17.3 is equal to sine B. Then we can just kind of sine inverse this. And so we get our answer. B is going to be equal to 45.3 degrees. Okay. So sine law, we're just solving for their second angle. So that's done. Then number 3 is just using our angle formula, which means we're solving for C. which will be subtracting our two angles from 180, and that will give us our final angle, right, of 73.7 degrees. So there's your full step solution towards solving this triangle. Okay? It's important for you to note, I first drew my triangle, I indicated what sides and what angles, and I labeled them. Number two, I asked myself, do I use sine law or cosine law? Do I have an angle side pair? That's sine law. If I don't, most likely it's cosine law. Then I solve for what's missing, and then I ask myself, with my new information that I just solved for, can I use sine law? Yes, I did use sine law. I found another angle. It doesn't matter whether you're solving for angle B or C, you just find a new piece of information. Then using that piece of information, can I solve for whatever I'm missing last? And yes, I'm missing my third angle. I can just use my interior angle formula, where I know all three angles add to 180. So I just subtract them from 180. And then we're done. So this is cosine law. And with this, I can throw any triangle at you, right? I can throw any triangle that I want, and you would have to solve that triangle, right? It's come to that point. And so with this information, actually, you should be able to solve all of part one of culminating now. I think up to the last question of part one culminating. Let me double check. I believe this covers all of it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So this covers all of your culminating. Maybe except question 6, but I think you guys can solve question 6. We're going to be going over it tomorrow. But it should cover almost everything. Okay. So with that being said, you have one more lesson, which is tomorrow on Thursday. And your culminating is due Friday. I will be posting an announcement very shortly about how marks are going to work for your culminating. Because I think some people have a misconception and they think they don't have to do the culminating, but you do. So please keep that in mind. Don't half-ass it, because it might drop your mark, and I'll explain why. So I'll see you tomorrow for our last class for actual learning something new. Next week, even though we're going to be done our culminating and stuff, I am going to be kind of going over some review over our whole course, and then that will be that. All right? So have a good rest of the day, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.